There's a lot of things in this old world that just do not make sense. Like why there's so few believers on the firing line, while so many others sit the fence. But if you want to know where the Word of God stands, and believe it wants to use your feet and hands, it's time to take your faith out of the seats and into the streets, and come along with me. If you'll only look, then you will see on WCN-TV.
Well, hello and welcome to another edition of WCN-TV. I am Rob Hugh and I'm going to be guest hosting today for Mike Heath. Normally it's supposed to be the other way around, but honestly, my work schedule has been so incredibly busy that Mike has been gracious enough to sit in for me for quite a while now. But we have a great show lined up for you today, folks, and I'm very excited about it. It's going to be kind of a reunion for me. With an old friend. I've been looking forward to this for a long time. It's going to be educational. It's also going to be inspirational as you hear an amazing testimony. We're going to be talking about communism, which is now being openly advocated for here in the U.S. Before we get into that, I'd like to just run down a few things related to that. Now, these are just a few of the points that were written into the congressional record back in 1963. These were at the time the current communist goals for America. And it's an excerpt from the book called The Naked Communist. And let me just go through some of these and you can see how far we've come. Provide American aid to all nations, regardless of communist domination. Promote the UN as the only hope for mankind. Demand that it be set up as a one-world government with its own independent armed forces. Resist any attempt to outlaw the Communist Party. Do away with all loyalty oaths, such as the Pledge of Allegiance. Capture one or both of the political parties in the United States. Use technical decisions of the courts to weaken basic American institutions by claiming their activities violate civil rights. How have we been doing on that with our courts? Also, get control of the schools. Use them as transmission belts for socialism and current communist propaganda. Soften the curriculum. Get control of teachers' associations. Put the party line in textbooks. Use student riots to foment public protests. Infiltrate the press. Get control of book review assignments, editorial writing, and policy-making positions. Also, gain control of key positions in radio, TV, and motion pictures. Folks, I'm reading from the current communist goals from back in 1963. And we're going to continue here with a few more. Control art critics and directors of art museums. Our plan is to promote ugliness, repulsive, meaningless art. Eliminate all laws governing obscenity by calling them censorship. Break down cultural standards of morality by promoting pornography and obscenity in books, magazines, motion pictures, radio, and TV. Present homosexuality, degeneracy, and promiscuity as normal, natural, and healthy. Infiltrate the churches and replace revealed religion with social religion. Discredit the Bible and emphasize the need for intellectual maturity, which does not need a religious crutch. Eliminate prayer, or any phase of religious expression in the schools. Discredit the American Constitution by calling it inadequate, old-fashioned, out of step with modern needs, a hindrance to cooperation between nations on a worldwide basis. Discredit the American Founding Fathers. Support any socialist movement to give centralized control over any part of the culture, education, social agencies, welfare programs, mental health clinics, etc. Infiltrate and gain control of big business. Transfer some of the powers of arrest from police to social agencies. Discredit the family as an institution. Encourage promiscuity and easy divorce. Emphasize the need to raise children away from the negative influence of parents. And create the impression that violence and insurrection are legitimate aspects of the American tradition, that students and special interest groups should rise up and use united force to solve economic, political, or social problems. So I would say we're seeing all of those things taking place in our world today. It's a shame, but those were the communist goals for America, written into the congressional record back in 1963. Well, our guest today is Pastor Alex Romanov, and I first met Pastor Alex about 20 years ago. We were good friends, and I had the privilege of getting to know his family very well as well. We haven't seen each other since he moved to South Carolina to pastor a church there, but I was able to track him down through some friends, and he graciously agreed to be the guest on today's program. Pastor Alex was born and raised in the former Soviet Union. He and his family came to America in 1998 with only what they were able to carry on the airplane. He didn't speak a word of English, but he worked very hard to learn it and then integrate into American society. He also taught me a good Russian accent, which I probably won't do for you today, but I can do it if I have to. So Alex served as a pastor for many years. He's now working as a chaplain in South Carolina. Pastor Alex, it's so good to see you again. And, I've thought about you many times over the years, and I'm glad we could finally reconnect. Welcome to the show.
Good afternoon. I'm glad to be with you, Rob. Thank you for inviting me.
How are things in South Carolina?
Good weather. We're still living in a sinful world. Everything is going on different, not the same, but like a sinful world.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, we have some photos to show you, to show our audience, and maybe we can kind of go through these as you kind of tell us about your life in the USSR.
Well, glad to do this, yes.
Yeah, well, if you can see the photos on the screen there, you can kind of tell us a little bit about each one as we go. I think first up is that's you with your parents, right?
Yeah, for some reason I cannot see on my screen, but I can, if you tell me what I will describe, yes.
Okay. We have a photo of you and your parents, your mom and
Yes.
dad.
Right, my mom and dad, yes.
Yeah.
Rob, I would like probably first, before I talking to express my apology for my English. I'm still learning English and could do some mistakes sometimes. And people in southern place of United States, when they hear my voice, because when they look at me, I dress like American. Yeah, I eat American food. I driving American car. So I look like American until I open my mouth. So immediately they ask me, "Oh, you have accent. Where are you from?" I usually answer, "From Wisconsin." Because I learn English in Wisconsin.
You betcha,
so
hey, you betcha there. You got a good Wisconsin accent.
I
Yeah,
I learn English in Wisconsin. So yeah, I was born in 1953. Actually, when Stalin died, then I was born in the same year, under the communist regime in the Soviet Union. Yes, into Christian family. This is what important.
And now tell us about Christianity back then. during the communist rule, there was a state church, was there not?
The communism, it's actually was like, from my point of view, I would say it also was religion in different way for them, because you can compare it with the Bible, what they have. Like they have their commandments, they have also a holy place, which was Lenin and Mausoleum in Red Square in Moscow. They have some rules, what to do, how to do. All of this remind me about religion, just without God. Like the Karl Marx, when he was reading his book about ideology of the communism, after he left the church, and this was very close to in many points to the Bible, because he actually wrote his work as dissertation based on Gospel of John, chapter 15 and verse 4, when Jesus said, "Without me, you can do nothing." It was really amazing. But then he left the church and was criticized the church, and finally, when he was in England, he became the atheist completely. But he wanted to build the kingdom of heaven without God. This what I compare. This was a religion for many people. But us as a Christian, we were underground. We can have like openly church services. Even we build some small churches. Probably you see the picture. They show like normal house. They belong to somebody, but we have church services there. But sometimes they destroy it, like they put the bulldozer on the place or bring the bulldozer and destroy the building completely. And we rebuild it. And some baptism we were done also, I believe I sent you a picture. It was like in the mountain in remote place. And me as a young boy and other boys, we were like watcher to see the police will not come. Because if they see pastor will baptize, they put pastor in the prison. It was from one side was very, very tough to live under communism. From other side, the church was very strong in unity and beliefs, and also supported one another very strongly, very strongly.
How did you find one another? Being that you had to be secretive about the meetings and things. The photo there is some church folks, I believe.
Yes, very close to one another, sitting like.
Why don't we show the one rebuilding the churches after the government destroyed it?
Yes.
There we go. Little children.
Yes.
Building with bricks.
Building with bricks. Yes, it was very, and we're building like over one day. Everybody will come together, and everybody already before they come together, they know what going to do. So usually the police on Sunday or weekend, they will not really so active. And in one day, they will be rebuilt completely.
Wow.
Yeah, it was amazing.
We have it so easy here in America, don't we?
Pardon me?
We have it so easy here in America, don't we?
Yes.
We don't know how good we still have it.
It's the blessing to have what we have today. I would say what we have before, when I came, it was different than it's today in the United States.
Yeah.
It's changing, and unfortunately not in the better direction. It seems to me going opposite direction. Yes.
Tell us about your father. He was an engineer, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was a builder, he was engineer, and he was a preacher as well. He preached. He was not a pastor. He was not ordained minister. He was a lay pastor or lay preacher, I would say. And he preached really very well. So I remember many, even my friends that I know today, they still remember his sermons. And he was working very hard to support family, because my mom, she mostly was staying home with the children, and she was typing with a type machine, using the type machine, typing some Christian books. We have to put blanket on the windows and on the door that nobody can hear. Even they even come close to the house, they can hear that somebody working, because easily go to prison if the police found out that somebody doing this.
Tell us
how
about, tell us a little bit about your time in school. And
This school was very tough. I tell you this because number one, didn't have chance to choose which school to go. There were only one, the which belonged to government, because the whole education system belonging to the government, and it was not like private or Christian school at all. So, and I have to go to public school, which was atheism and communism oriented. And it was not easy for any Christian children to go to school. But because my parents...
let me just briefly interrupt you. If you can put that photo back up, that was just
Sure.
there. That's
Yeah.
that's one of the schools. That's a photo when you were 13 years old. And I believe that was the first time you were arrested for your faith.
Right.
Okay.
And have been arrested in a classroom in front of my classmate. And it was very like shocked and confusing for me, because, usually police arrested somebody who is a criminal, and, my friends, they didn't know what to think of me in that moment. And it was not easy. I tell you openly, my feeling was really troubling, and I was thinking how I come back, if I would come back, because what the government authority doing in this case when they arrest somebody or take children, it's mean their parents will be arrested and put in prison, and children will be sending to orphanage house and trying to educate him completely different, so against the God, against the Bible, and all the religious will be like present like the opium for the people. And they were trying to push me very hard that I will testify against my parents. Like they were pushing me to pray, they were pushing me to read the Bible. Against my will, they were taken to some church service in the mountain, the forest, or some other place. This is what they've been doing. So I was by the Supreme Court for 3 hours. And next day, my father been arrested. But also this experience was very important for me, for my spiritual growing, because that first time I started praying like I never prayed before. And I would say I switched from my parents' faith to my personal faith, and start really have real connection to God. This was also positive experience for me, even it was very scary. And the ideology was to the whole class, every children at school has to wear uniform. And the government was trying to do not just to wear uniform that will all look alike, but also we have to think alike. They were teaching us to think in just one direction. There was communism ideology and the atheism ideology. So in that time, for me was very important to start praying to God directly and feel this personal connection with God. It was like positive experience for me. But at school, it was tough time. It was like humiliation and hostility a lot, especially from the teachers, from some children as well. But for teachers, it was always initiative to present us as the believers, stupid people, not well educated, I remember one time I was in a class with all my classmate. Teacher came and she said, "Only stupid people believe on God." Her argument was the Yuri Gagarin, the first astronaut in space. That's what she said. She said he was in heaven and didn't see any God. And then she said, "Only stupid people believe in God." She said, "Thanks to God, we don't have many. We have only one in our class." And she pointed her finger at me. Um, so this is what was the life in a school for Christian children, for Christian young boys and girls. You always feel like you do not belong to that place. You don't belong to a group of people. You always feel yourself like, you're different. You're not accepted in the society. You're somewhere on the side, not the part of all classroom. That's what I
Well,
would say. How was really
yeah,
the life for us.
we know that God works all things for good to those who are
Yes, yes.
called according to his purpose. And
Mhm.
I would say that you wouldn't be the person you are today if you hadn't gone through those experiences, and you can empathize with people that have gone through similar things. So
Yes, yes. Thank you for this coming. Yes, exactly like it is. Yeah.
so you were eventually sent to prison, were you not?
No, I was not. I
You
was
were
not.
not.
Even my father was released. Um, Here is something very interesting I would like to share maybe. When this judge was talking to me, and he was really was angry at me and show his really, I would say, he didn't appreciate me at all as a person, as a student, and he was very rude to me as well. And then he asked me one question. He said, "Tell me at least if you have one hobby that you really likes to do." I said, "Yes, I do. I play football with a team." And of course, I have to say football, it's what we call in Europe football, because Americans have different football. They're playing with a hand, but they call football, right?
Right, right.
So it's the soccer what I play, and I play with a team really, and I was very good in this. And he asked me, he said, "Okay, in which team are you playing?" And I named this team, and he said, "Are you sure?" I said, "Yes, yes." And he asked me, "So why did you go lately?" And we did go to another city, play football with another group of young people like we are. And he asked me a couple questions. And later I found out that his two boys, two sons, were playing in the same team that I was.
Wow.
And we were friends. And I believe somehow God worked through this, that he became more sympathetic to me, to what been done. And I believe the next question, when he asked me about the teachers and the subjects, and I was good except one. It was Russian language and literature. And this one I was not so good because teacher always trying to put me down. And she was a wife of the KGB agent, and she allowed to do herself like maybe somebody else will not even thinking of that. And he sent somebody to school, and they brought the journal of the last year. And when he looked page by page, he found that I was really good in math and history, geography, all others except that subject. And he became somehow sympathetic to me after that. So God always so close to his people. He always do something very amazing to people who stay faithful for the faith and not really give up. This is what I would testify today.
And well, I guess I was mistaken. I was thinking that you had spent some time in a labor camp, but I know that your pastor did, and
Yeah.
I believe your father-in-law, Mikhail Kulikov, did as
Yes.
well.
He did 5 years, and a pastor 10 years, and my uncle 2 years. Yes.
Yeah, and we'll show some photos of some of the Soviet prisons.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Um, what was it like there? What was it like for the people in those camps?
It was mm, tough to describe the life there. They were working very hard, not enough food, not enough time to sleep. And if somebody got sick, it's most of the time they will not survive. And some people, when they came back, they will be sick to the rest of their life for one or another illness. They usually got in a prison. And most of the prisons were really in Siberia, were very cold. Not all of them, but especially like labor camp and somebody like political prisoners and some like who whom the government didn't trust it, and they didn't trust to Christian people because they not follow exactly all the rules what they supposed to follow, and they were like not trustworthy to the government. And for that reason, most of them were sent to Siberia, were very cold, especially in wintertime, like 20 below, 20 degree below what, 0 to 30 degrees and
Sort of like
warm.
what you were used to back in Wisconsin.
Yeah.
only, only you didn't have to work quite as hard, although they did work you pretty
Yes,
hard here,
yes,
didn't
it
they?
was exactly right. Yes,
Yeah,
it was very cold.
they worked
Long
you hard.
winter, cold winter, a lot of ice and snow.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
exactly. Yes.
So, um,
Um,
so tell us about your father-in-law. He was such an impressive man to me, and I got to sit with him and hear some of his stories.
yeah.
Um, and at the time, he was translating the Bible into modern day Russian. Um,
Yes. Yes.
yeah,
Um, he was very unique person, I would say. This was his dream to translate Bible into modern Russian language. But he was very, I would say in this area, he was very conservative, and he was very accurate in the translation, not just freely, but he was a scholar as well. He also spoke, he died, but he spoke like Russian, English, German, and he was very good in Greek and Hebrew. When he was translating Bible, this was what he used. What Bible was written in Hebrew and the Greek, and as New Testament. So he was doing this very accurate for many years. But his dream was when he was a young man, about 20, 22 years. And it's when he was in prison, I believe he was arrested when he was 22 because he baptized some young woman, and somebody reported to the government, and he been arrested and put in prison for 5 years. And he met there in prison a rabbi, and he asked him to teach him Hebrew, the language the Old Testament was written. And they spent together a lot of time, like the rabbi was teaching him Hebrew. And he was doing this because he believed one day he will be able to translate Bible into Russian modern language. Because we have a Russian Bible that was translated in 19th century. And I will bring you one example, like Genesis chapter 2, verse 1 says, "So God finished his work in 6 days, and he rested on the seventh day." And the Russian Bible, if you read, it will say like this: God finished his work in 6 days, and he died on the 7 days.
yes,
Uh,
I remember. I remember him telling me that. I
yes,
remember
because
sitting on the couch in your living room, and he was telling me those stories, and
Yes,
And
yes,
he would work tirelessly in a tiny upstairs bedroom
right.
with a little lamp on his desk, translating the Bible, and just very much admired him. Um,
Yes,
he, I was able to watch his funeral. It was live streamed on the
right,
internet
right.
some years ago,
Mhm.
and felt very close to him.
He was a great man, yes. I
Yeah,
always admire him and respect him dearly.
yeah,
Mm.
yeah. So, did your parents come with you when you came in 1998?
My parents died, both of them. My mom died when I was 18, and my dad died when I was 27.
Okay, okay.
Yeah.
And what part of the Soviet Union were you living in?
Mom died when I was still living in Tajikistan, where I was born. It's former Soviet Union. And my father died when we used to live in Tula. It's the Russia, not so far away from Moscow. And my
Okay,
childhood was in Tajikistan, were bordered with Afghanistan. So this place where I was really grew up among the Muslims people. So I know Islam's religion not just by reading, by experience as well.
hmm,
Right.
okay. We need to take a 2-minute break here, but we do have a studio audience joining us today. And so after the break, if any of you would like to ask Pastor Alex some questions, get those ideas ready, and we'll bring you in right after the break.
All right.
Have you been looking for a trusted long-term storable food company? We have a solution for you. Simply Clean Foods is dedicated to providing the best quality food you can buy next to fresh from a farmer's market. Our line of resealable fruits, vegetables, and meats are suitable for everyday use, and you won't have to worry about throwing away valuable groceries ever again. Our food is completely GMO-free, and our stringent quality controls, plus testing for heavy metals, makes us unique in the storable foods market. Simply Clean Foods' primary focus is to bring clean food to people all around the world and change the way we look at freeze-dried food in our daily cooking. When you purchase from simplycleanfoods.net, not only will you be receiving high-quality food, but you will also be supporting veterans in need across the country and those who are affected by natural disasters. Right now, Amazon Prime members will receive fast 2-day shipping. Go to simplycleanfoods.net. That's simplycleanfoods.net. But do it today.
At the McClario firm, it all starts with family. We are here to serve you and your family, online or in person. Call today for a free consultation. The McClario firm, your law firm for life.
Start.
Pornography is a destructive force. It destroys individuals, families, and fuels the out-of-control demand for sex trafficking. 45% of Christian families say porn is a problem in their home, but why aren't churches and public schools talking about this? Fear. People who view porn think they're the only one. It's a lie. Statistically, more people view porn than who do not and struggle in silence. www.lynnfrederick.com. You can find the book I wrote about my own battle with porn and the presentations that I do for churches and public schools. lynnfrederick.com.
Tired of bad news? Do the teenagers in your life need a break from social media and mind-numbing entertainment? Wouldn't it be great to inspire them to connect with God and others and to live outside their phones? The Off the Itinerary series by M. Liz Boyle does just that, and reviewers love the blend of adventure and Christian themes. Readers enjoy the action-packed stories and relatable characters. Go to mlizboyle.com for discussion guides and purchase links.
Okay, welcome back, folks. We are with Pastor Alex Romanov. He is an immigrant from the former Soviet Union. He's been a pastor here in the U.S. for the last 20-some years, and he is now a chaplain in South Carolina. I met him when he was in Wisconsin, and this is kind of a reunion for us. We haven't seen each other in about 20 years, so it's a fun day for me. So we're going to ask our studio audience if anyone has any questions or if you'd like to join in. There is a little bit, there's a little red microphone, just that will unmute you and you can ask away. Celia, I see that you have unmuted yourself. Welcome. Oh, but I can't hear you. Can't hear Celia. Hello? Oh, that's the this is live TV, folks, so anything can happen. Let's try Harry. Harry always has a comment for us.
Well, almost anyway. With the way the churches fell in line a year ago, I mean, they fell over each other to get in line. Very, very few stood up and stood by the Bible and by our Constitution. Do you see that as falling right in line with what Russia did?
Pastor Alex?
There was breaking up. I didn't hear really. If you would repeat, Rob, please.
Harry, ask your question one more time.
Okay, with the way the churches here fell in line when the government said you have to close, they fell over each other to get in line first, so that they were good citizens or something, some dumb thing. Is that somewhat the same as what happened in Russia, where only a few churches actually stood up and said, we're going to stand by God instead of you?
This was a little tough for me to say here, because the reason what was in this time and this year, last year, it was like the reason for COVID. And a little different what was in Russia. In Russia, they did directly. And I believe maybe it's different here because, you used to live under freedom. Russia was for many years under the Tsarist regime, and then came the communist regime. So there was not much difference, and the freedom was not experienced by people. And I believe the communist government, they used this experience and very strongly forbid it for churches to come together and worship together. So even when the Brezhnev came, and it was more, or just, I would say, it was a little bit freedom was given to people, but always undercover, I would say KGB agent was there. And, in my home, they were sent 3 times. And we have seen this, especially the last one, it was even living in my house, and we did know that. So this is what only difference I can see here in the experience in our life, like was in Russia and here. Maybe it is the test right now, the testing the churches, could be, but I cannot be sure for one way or another way. But I believe the government trying to really to testing us as a Christian, what are we going to do if they will say something different to us? If it's not today, they will be a little later, probably. This is what I see. It's really going to that direction to see how churches really follow order from the government. This is what my answer would be in this point.
Yes, and under communism, they really have a vested interest in stamping out Christianity, don't they?
Yes, right.
So, Celia, if you can hear me, and if your microphone is not working, if you would text me your question or your comment, I will be happy to ask Pastor Alex for you. Celia was instrumental in helping me track down Pastor Alex after 20 years, so we definitely would appreciate having her comments.
Yes,
so,
thank you.
Anyone else? Dick and Deanne, Tamara, Dick Peterson. Anyone else in the audience have a question? You're welcome. Okay, well, let's move on, and if you folks have questions coming up, we'll get back to you. During the break, Pastor was telling me about how his father would take the writings that his mother was typing and form them into books.
Yes.
How did that go? How did that work?
Usually he been doing this at nighttime when we as children were sleeping. And one night I have to go to restroom, and I saw something that I never have seen before. And I saw my father was on the floor bounding these books, what my mother was taping on the typing machine. And I saw that I never have seen, because I know when the police will come and found out some book like this, that will be it. So my father will go to jail, and my mom, and we will be taken away from the parents, from the house. And I saw something I never could even imagine. By the windows, usually our windows and the doors were trimmed with such a decoration trimming around. And one of them on one side was open, and I saw the shelves in the wall, and the books were there, because I know somebody come to our home and they were taking some books, and I was thinking where they were taken from. I haven't seen these books in our house, but it's something very interesting. And I found that my father was so smart enough to do something like this. And I believe when police would come, they also would never imagine that somebody will build a shelf in the wall and carve it with such a wide decoration trimming so around the windows and the doors, and full of them were the shelves where my father was hiding the books there. And when he saw me, that I found out what he'd been doing, he'd tell me, said, son, you have seen that probably have not to see, but I have to tell you what is it and why. And he told me, if police will come and found out, he will be arrested and I will go. And I was like a partisan, really saying no one word to anybody till later. So, but this is what we've been living under communism. And I know one time, like police came to our house middle of the night, and I was scared because we're really like, they were knocking on the door with a fist, with something really heavy, that I was really scared at that time. And the Bible they were reading in the evening before we went to the bed was laying this on the table. And the father was not able to hide this. And my mom, she put behind the mirror, like standing mirror on the table. The old-fashioned mirror was coming from my grandmother. And she put behind this standing mirror on the table, and the police was searching everywhere and couldn't see. I was able to see. If you just look a little bit on the side, you will see the Bible there behind the mirror. But they couldn't see. So God many times protected us and many believers that knowing the situation, if they will took the Bible away, there will be not possible to find another Bible for years. So this what in that difficult time we have seen many miracles from God. This is what I would say.
And
Thanks
once
to
again,
God.
we don't realize how good we have it here in America with the Bible available, so freely available. Most homes have multiple copies, or you can get it on your phone. In
Yes.
every translation you might
Available.
want, everything available. And
Yes,
sadly,
that's
most
right.
of them are just collecting dust. So
Yeah, we have to read the Bible. We have to read, not just
Right.
You know, when I went to Army, Rob, this is what I did because I know I will be not able to see the Bible. And I took small notebook and put the address there. And you know how it was like, probably I put the name like Rob Pye, and I said the street is John Street, home number 3, apartment number 16. And the whole this notebook with my notebook for the address was full of the Bible verses. Of course, some of them were real addresses, but some of them was just like this. And this is how I was able to remember Bible text, God's promises to us, and encouragement in the tough time. And then that's what God gave me wisdom. I developed this method for myself, and then I share with others. And it was really, really blessing to me to have like this Bible in my hands when I was in Army.
Yeah, I can imagine. You had told me a little bit about the construction battalion in the Red Army.
Right.
Maybe you could share that with our listeners.
Let me first share how it did happen. Then I been sent to this construction battalion in Red Army. Before you go to Army, and this was obligation for every boy when we reach 18 or 19, and it was mandatory. So, but before you go, you have to be checked by the doctors and by political leaders and the Army officers. And you go through all the doctors in underwear and nothing else, like you're almost naked, just underwear, that's all. And the last, last office, it's what all the officers, the communist leader was sitting there, and the political leaders as well, and they will ask you political questions, and they will check your loyalty to the Soviet Army and the Soviet Union. So, and you enter this and you see some maybe ladies sitting there, maybe not many, but some of them, and of course then officers, and then the communist and this party leaders, the Communist Party leaders were there. And you in underwear standing there. And they check on me. And then I said, may I ask you a question? Or said, yeah. I said, I would like to say here that you will know, it's important, that I'm a Christian. I'm a believer. They looked at me, all of them, immediately, all of this. I see the eyes was like string to me, a young boy, like 18 years and 6 months or something like this. And they really start asking me questions, so many questions. And Rob, can you imagine, this is first time in my life I was preaching, and I was preaching in underwear, and I never prepared for this. And I was really quoting the Bible text and telling them why I believe and how I believe and what is it. And I didn't know at the time that God called me to be a preacher. And this was first experience in my life. And of course, they sent me to this construction battalion because they usually were the criminal and the people who were not loyal to the Soviet ideology and the communist ideology. And they were like, I would say, because they were looking at them like not worthy at all. And they sent Christian people as well to this construction battalion. And I was, as a young Christian, decided I have to go there, because then you will see you don't need to take weapon in your hands. And for me was also important not really do this. And I explained them why I'm not taking this weapon in my hands. And this is what my beliefs in that time, and I really was blessed to go there. It was not easy. I would tell it was not easy. But later, even criminals, the young people, they were really very kind to me. And some of them, little by little, came to me and asking me to pray for their mom or for dad or for girlfriend. Like, say, Alex, can you pray for my girlfriend? Something going wrong there. I would like you pray. Or somebody will come and said, and you know what interesting? The first who came to me was a criminal people. Somehow they did believe in God. In all this, what they have done wrong, they still believed in God. And this was really an experience for me, trusting God more and more, and be all the time show by example and life that I do believers and I believe in God, even in this situation, even sometimes it's very tough, still be faithful to God and God's principles. And they respected me very well. And later some officers were really trusting me to leave me alone in the office and do something, and they were not afraid that will be something missing after I leave. So there was a blessing as well in this construction battalion for me as well.
Well, that must have taken incredible courage at the age of 18 to profess your faith, where you knew what the consequences were going to be. But I guess you could say your first ministry was a jail ministry in some ways.
Yes, you're right.
And probably felt a little bit like Joseph.
Yes, exactly. The story what my dad told me when I was young, when I was a little boy, the story of Joseph and David and Paul and Jonah, they were staying so clearly in my memory, was helping me a lot. That's true. This is what I would like encourage parents today, just teaching your children by example in the reading Bible, telling the story that really help a lot in our life. Even during today, I said till today, during my life, the story from the Bible were helping me a lot.
Yeah, and that is so incredibly important, folks, to train up your children to know the Word of God, to memorize it, and it will serve them well their entire lives.
Amen.
My little story from when I was, I think, 10 years old doesn't come close to comparing what you went through, but I think my first Bible commentary that I'd ever written was when I was 10 for a school assignment, and we were assigned to write a book report, and the deal was we could write it on any book we wanted, anything we wanted to write on. So I wrote on the on the book of John, chapter 3, and I did a very good job. I typed it. It was, meticulously typed and edited, and 10 years old, and I think it was about 15 pages long. And other kids were doing green eggs and ham and things like that, and scribbling down a half page, and that was their book report, and they were graded well on that. Mine came back with a big bright red F on it, underlined twice by the teacher, and she wrote inappropriate and underlined that twice. So I failed that, and that actually was 1/3 of my grade when I was 10 years old. But
Wow.
Yeah, the
But it
things we
was
learn
really-
when we're children,
Right.
of the things of God are, they stay with us, and they make us who we are. So,
Yeah.
but you came to the U.S. in 1998. How tell us about that experience? We're down to about 5 minutes, but we have more than we can probably get through here, but.
Yeah. First of all, I would say I'm very thankful in my family to American people. They accepted us, adopted us in the society, and were very, very helpful. So they brought us some family brought us a sofa, some other brought us dining table with the chairs, some other, because we came here just with 2 suitcases. That's all. And it was touching to me. And I was sharing, and I share even today. When the communism collapsed, we didn't have food in the stores, the food stores. So it was shelves empty. We couldn't find something to eat. And suddenly we start getting some packages and boxes with the food from the United States. There were rice, there was some other food, there was like cookies, oil, sugar, chocolate. It was American. For us, was so touchy in the Soviet Union. And I sharing with people today, and I saying to them, in heaven, somebody will come to you from Russia and will thank you, because angel will show. We're always asking, who was so nice person who sent us this package? And we're eating, we save our lives, and somebody will come to you and said, thank you. Because of you, I was surviving that time. So what you've been doing, so with love, with a compassion, sending to us and to other people in the world this food, this is such a blessing, and thank you to all American people who done this. Till today, I'm very thankful, and I was touched, and I never can forget. So before I came to United States, I've been touched by the American people. So, and today I would like to say, stay faithful to God, stay faithful to his principles, be kind to people, love them, and praise God for everything what you have today. It is a blessing. It is the lesson that strengthens our faith and relationship with God. Because God said, what you have done to little one, you done it to me. And that's what I will say again, in the name of many, many Russian people, to you, all Americans, thank you. You've been blessed us. And remember, you are blessed and you are blessing. Stay faithful to God. This is what I would say today. And I'm so fortunate today doing my ministry as a chaplain. I'm so blessed to do this, to help people when they're sick or when they're dying. And especially to my supervisor, Leslie Youngward. She was my supervisor. She gave me a lot. And thank you, Rob, to invited me to share with you my stories. I really do appreciate. Thank you.
Well, I have to say the media likes to divide us, and they like to portray the Russian people as our enemies. And, we have no animosity toward the Russian people.
Yeah.
There may be conflict between governments and ideologies and things
And
like
politician.
that. But we love the Russian people.
We do.
And
I
we
do also love.
Yeah.
And a lot of people love you Americans as well.
Yeah.
And I'm Russian American, so I don't lost my identity, but I'm American as well.
Yeah. So have you been back since you've been to the U.S.? Have you traveled back there?
Sure. I do go back to Russia, yes.
Uh-huh. Yeah. Still have family there?
My uncles, aunts, and some cousins, yes. But my immediate family is here, and my older sister, she passed as well.
Yeah. I remember your nephew came over while you were living in Wisconsin, and we helped him learn a little bit of English. So
yes, right. Thank you.
How's he doing?
Oh, he's doing good. He has his own business, and he lives in Seattle, so he's really happy and blessed.
Mm-hmm. Well, great, wonderful. Well, yeah. Pastor Alex, I'm grateful that you were able to come on today. Anyone in the audience have any final questions? This is the last chance. We're down to about 30 seconds. Okay, now we're down to about 25 seconds. All right. Anyone who would like to contact Pastor Alex and get give him some comments later, you can email him by emailing me, and I'll forward your message to him. My email is rob, R-O-B, @wisconsinchristiannews.com. And if you'd like to send Alex a message, I will make sure he gets that. Next week, we have Mark Sutherland joining us from the UK. So we're going to be going across the sea again here, but welcome again to WCN-TV. I'll be with you next week. No promises once we get into April, but I'll be here next week. So thank you. And Pastor Alex, God bless you. And for all the work you've done for the kingdom.
Bless all of you.
Take care.
Bye-bye.